Hey everyone, welcome back for another case study. Today we are going to look at the chart for Ethereum. And I'm doing this because there is a lot going on in the crypto world right now. And for those of you who are invested in it or just following it, you know that the Clarity Act is in formation. And honestly, after looking at Bitcoin's chart, which I see as like a whole chart for crypto in general, I think that the Clarity Act is actually going to pass. I know that there is a lot of talk that it's not going to. There's a big kind of kerfluffle happening around it all, but I actually do think that we are going to hear word that that has passed, possibly by the end of the week, right? So anyway, if I have more commentary on Bitcoin's chart in my book, Orbital Progressions. And then once the Clarity Act passes, then I'll probably do a video looking at Bitcoin's chart and the Clarity Act. So that'll be in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and look at ETH's chart. And this chart is for the moment that its first massive bull run was about to take off, right? And it's important to note that we're looking right before the bull run's going to take place, right? And the aspects and seeing how they're playing out. Because in the last chart that we're going to look at for Ethereum, which is its current chart right now, we're going to be talking about the aspects and what they're saying for Ethereum moving forward over this next year, right? All right, so let's see. Okay. So for this chart, which was December 25th of 2020, we can see that transiting Jupiter and Saturn in the third house were conjunct the OP moon, right? And that OP moon was at 0 degrees, and that was exactly sextiling that 0 degree ascendant Ethereum house. And there was a basket going on, right? Actually, a basket plus. I'll elaborate on that. If we're looking at the OP nodal axis, right? So at 27 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. And those OP nodes were being sextiled / trined by, the OP part of fortune, that was in Taurus in the 6th, and then OP Mars in the 8th. And that OP Mars at this point, ETH was only 5 years old. The progressed Mars moves very slowly. So, I mean, it's still right about the same, close to that same degree as its birth chart. But we can note that OP Mars at 25 degrees of Cancer was exactly opposite its natal moon at 25 degrees Capricorn, right? And then the reason that I said it was a basket plus is because, if we actually looked at this orbitally progressed nodal axis, then it was also making a sextile to the natal moon, and then a trine to that, or sextile trine to the natal Saturn as well, right? And let's see what else we have. So we can look at this progressed sun. that is here at 12 degrees in the ninth house of Leo. And that, was applying this natal grand trine that ETH has wired in with Mercury at 14 degrees in Leo. And then that is trining natal Palace in Sag. And then, the other trine is to natal Vesta. And, so this was a moment where people were starting to understand, right? Like, oh, here is why ETH is like this promising new invention, right? It's going to have a solution to a lot of issues, right? And at this moment also, we had OP Mercury, the ruler of the 10th, right? So it's in rulership in the 10th. And it is in a waning conjunction to natal Venus. And at this point, it's at 6 degrees of Virgo, and that's an exact trine with the transiting Uranus in the 6th. And actually, it was a grand trine because if we're looking at transiting Sun and Mercury in the second house, then that would have been forming a grand trine. And actually, let's go ahead and add that OP Venus, this was a Mercury Venus OP Mercury Venus conjunction. And that Venus was applying a trine to this natal Pluto, right? Okay. So those are, we could have gone into more of the exact aspects in the basket with the orbital progressions, but I think that, astrologers will get that there were a lot of aspects that are involved in that basket. So let's move on. Let's move to the next chart for Ethereum. And this chart is for ETH's all-time high so far. So let's see what aspects we can see. So at this time, we had, if we start down here with this OP moon, it was being applied by transiting Pluto here in the 3rd. And at this moment, these were being trined by transiting Mars in the 11th. And then, of course, we have to talk about the basket that has been an ongoing major topic of interest for all astrologers for a few years now. And actually, now we're in the peak of it, and we're going to talk about that in the next chart. So, with that, then of course we could say, well, here's this OP moon, and it is, having this sextile aspect with Saturn, Neptune, and the trine aspect with transiting Uranus and the vertex actually on this day. And the transiting MC was actually exactly opposite of that OP moon on August 23rd, 2025. And so then let's look at this orbitally progressed nodal axis. And, something to note with this is the previous lunar eclipse that was on March 13th in 2025 was at 24 degrees of Virgo. So Ethereum's 10th house, and it was conjunct the OP North Node and OP Mercury. And OP Mercury at that time was exactly trine the natal moon down in the second house. Um, really making a grand trine, actually, if we factor in OP part of fortune here in the sixth at 28 degrees of Taurus. And actually, this OP part of fortune at 28 degrees is an interesting point because it was exactly opposing natal Saturn here at 28 degrees in Scorpio and squaring natal Jupiter. So, a T square. And it was kind of interesting with this high because the expected high wasn't actually hit, right? And this isn't with just Ethereum. This is where we would look at the bull run had this kind of unexpected abrupt halt, right? And so there's a lot of talk about the 4-year cycle with crypto and are we shifting to a longer cycle? And right now we're seeing evidence of both, I believe. And I think that the 4-year cycle has been in play. And I think that perhaps this is when we are going to, moving forward, we're going to start seeing that, oh, it's actually now shifting its operating pattern, right? And that's not going to be apparent until a few years in the future when we can look back and like really, really like mark, right, what's going on. So, and then we're going to circle back to this T square when we look at the next chart. That's for current times. Okay, so then let's carry on and let's see that OP Mars at 28 degrees of that eighth house was in a conjunction with transiting Venus. And that OP Mars was in an exact trine to natal Saturn. And let's see what else. What else do we have here? OP Venus, if we look at OP Venus, here at 16 degrees in the 10th, then that was trining the natal part of fortune. And it was being sextiled by transiting Jupiter in the 8th as well. So we can see, a lot of aspects there that speak to a high moment. And then now let's shift to the next chart we're going to look at. And so in looking at this chart, we are actually going to talk about some of the aspects outside of orbital progressions as well, just for the most like thorough analysis for those of you that are invested in Ethereum or those of you that are considering investing. So, we're going to just kind of look at some more of the positive aspects. And then, so we're going to be making a prediction for ETH moving forward from now. So, why do I think there are good things to come for ETH? There's a lot. So, let's go ahead and get into it. So, a lot of times I'll start and kind of work my way around the chart, but on this one, we're going to kind of bounce around a little bit. And so that's because something that we, of course, have to address right now today is the Jupiter Sun Cazimi moment. And how this factors into ETH's chart is that moment happens to be conjunct ETH's natal sun. So that's a great start to the year ahead, because not only are we looking at this as the beginning to the next solar cycle for ETH, right? The year cycle, it's actually kicking off the Jupiter cycle to ETH's natal sun. So this is a longer cycle that will play out over the next 12 years. So that's, beginning now, right? And, a side note to this actually is when Jupiter is conjunct the ETH's progressed sun, which is going to happen on September 22nd this year. At that moment, it is actually going to be in a sextile with transiting Venus, who will be in rulership in ETH's 11th house at that moment. And then, of course, we also have to note that Jupiter is ETH's ruling planet as well. And currently, Jupiter, that natal Jupiter, as well as ETH's natal Venus, are in the line of the transiting nodal axis, right? So it's pinging it off, it's kicking it off. Like, here is a lot of energy coming to ETH, right? What else is there? Okay, so also, since we're already talking about, kind of like the Cazimi and the progressed sun, then we have to note that the eclipse coming on August 12th is conjunct Ethereum's progressed sun. And remember, in secondary progressions and orbital progressions, the sun is the same. And so that eclipse is going to be conjunct that progressed sun, and it is also going to be exactly trining ETH's natal Uranus at 20 degrees in its fifth house, Aries. Okay, what else is there? Okay, so then also, if we come back to this OP part of fortune, and remember in the last chart, I said we're going to circle back around to this. And why I feel it's relevant to talk about is because it has now broken through that exact opposition to Saturn and the square to Jupiter, right? So now it's cleared that, right? And then within a year's time, it will actually clear the opposition or T square with the ascendant at 0 degrees and the natal Venus at 0 degrees as well, right? So another breakthrough moment is on the horizon. And there are actually multiple breakthroughs, so let's address those. OP Mercury up here right now is at 29 degrees of its 10th house. And it's just broken through a semi-square to its natal Mercury, right? Semi-squares actually carry a lot of weight when you start recognizing them in charts. And so this OP Mercury, by the time November rolls around, that will have ingressed into Libra, ETH's 11th house. And so, if we think of the ruler of ETH's 11th house, then we have to ask, well, what's that ruler doing at this time, right? And so Venus, if we look at this, OP Venus up here at 17 degrees in its 10th house. Well, that is in this grand trine with the natal part of fortune and natal Pluto. Actually, today it's being exactly sextiled by transiting Mercury as well. And so maybe that's pointing to that there is going to be word, right? That like um, the Clarity Act passed, right? Like something is going to come about that is going to uh, ignite, right? Or is going to start that launch. Is it going to be Mercury? Mars is sure to be involved. But anyway, let's get back to the orbital progressions. So let's see. Oh, also, once this OP Mercury crosses that Libra threshold, well, it's going to be conjunct the natal north node. So that, brings a lot of energy as well. And right now, that OP Mercury is in a sextile with natal Saturn, and it is trining the natal moon. And it is in an exact trine with the OP part of fortune. What else do we see? And actually, if we go back to this progressed sun, it's about to have a breakthrough moment with the natal part of fortune. And it is being, let's see. Oh, it is trining this natal Uranus, and it's being trined by transiting Saturn, right? Who's now going backwards, but of course, it's gonna once it shifts, it'll come and make that exact trine. All right. So what else do we have? We have. Oh, this was an interesting one. Okay, so if we look at the OP nodes at 21 degrees of Virgo and Pisces, well, um, actually today, look, we can see that Venus is exactly aligned with this while we're talking about it. Maybe that is foreshadowing. But the thing that I was actually going to say is what's interesting is that in about 18 months' time, um, the OP nodes, which progress backwards, uh, will be in an exact conjunction with OP Venus, who's moving forward from 17 degrees of the 10th house. And these are going to be exactly conjunct Ethereum's MC. Which, of course, is involved in that grand trine as well with the natal Pluto and the natal part of fortune. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, if we include the vertex, right, which of course we know this as a destiny point or a catalytic point, right, where like when we have aspects to it, shifts happen. Then we would see it as a kite, and that's pointing, that's actually like on the financial axis, right? Like because it's pointing to the second house. So I would expect that this will bring, of course, a lot of wealth and activity to Ethereum. All right. So what else do we have? Let's see. We see that OP Mars at 28 degrees is still, because remember, OP Mars or progressed Mars moves very slowly. So it's still maintaining that exact trine to Saturn in Scorpio, right? So this can point or does speak to like massive institutional use cases for Ethereum, right? Um, and if we look at the orbitally progressed moon down here at 6 degrees in Aquarius, well, of course, we'd see that Pluto and the moon today, transiting Pluto, I should say, and the moon are conjunct that. And, you know, Pluto moon conjunction, of course, in financial astrology is an indicator of, a lot of, can indicate massive wealth in different moments, right? And then, of course, not only do we have this conjunction to Pluto, transiting Pluto, but, now we have to talk about the Barbo basket, which last year at that peak, the basket was forming, right? Everything was kind of applying, but now we have these full blown aspects that are happening involving this OP moon, um, you know, uh, Neptune, Uranus, and so let me see if there's what else is going on. Oh, and also, if we look at this OP moon at 6 degrees, it's literally having a full moon moment next year, right? So we're leading into that because it is going to have an exact opposition to that sun. So, like I would expect Ethereum to be in the spotlight, right? And then I think there was one more thing I wanted to include. Oh, Chiron at 0 degrees of Taurus is making an exact trine to that natal Venus, right? And of course, it's going to go back. It's kind of going back and forth, but that trine to its natal Jupiter as well, and the transiting nodes. So, overcoming some of the issues that it's had before and, making it that much more useful. So, yeah, that's pretty much why I think that Ethereum has a promising year ahead. Maybe you'll have even more insight as you're looking into the charts. And of course, none of this is financial advice. We're simply just delineating each chart and talking about what it looks like maybe in East future. So, anyway, that's it for now. Hope you have a good one. See you next time.